Hello, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of In the End There's Always a Disney Guy. But before we get into today's episode, you guys already know what to do. Subscribe to this podcast. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to do so. It ain't nothing new. It's the same routine every time. Get it done. And that's just that. Like, y'all already know what is up. Before we even discuss today's topic, y'all already know the routine. It ain't nothing new. Nothing has changed. Like, come on now. Get it done. If you haven't figured it out already, today we're going to be discussing Moon Knight episode 2. We're going to be reviewing the episode, not discussing, but reviewing. I'm definitely going to give another spoiler warning. I would hate to ruin the show for you. You guys already know that. So please, I'm going to ask you, make sure that you watch the show. I don't want you guys saying that I ruined it for you guys. Like, because I'm going to be like, I warned y'all, I told y'all, it ain't like, there's nothing I can do. Like I tried to tell y'all. But okay, let's get into this episode. So, warning, the following review of Moon Knight's second episodes contains full spoilers. Yeah, oh my god, IGN is getting on my nerve. Okay. The second episode of Moon Knight fully introduced May Calamet's Layla, sprinkled in some important intel, raised the stakes somewhat, and gave us a fresh pressed look at this story's take on Moon Knight. The three-piece suit variant of the Fist of Khonshu, Oscar Isaac continued to dazzle as a brought to the brink Stephen, who found himself more at war with his Mark personality than ever. With Ethan Hawke delivered more of his softly sinister Arthur Harrow, the show is still gifting us with pronounced scenes between the two, but it was also here in the second episode that Stephen bewilderment element started to wear thin. Stephen Grant's confusion living a half-life while also unknowingly serving as a vessel as an Egyptian god helped last week's premiere episode crackle with slapstick mystery. Now, as the puzzle pieces begin to fall into place more, his utter delirium's feelings like an anchor holding the show back. Granted, we still aren't being given the entire mosaic, since Mark never feels like clearly explaining everything to Steven, but questions are building up at an alarming rate, and episode 2 only lets a little air out of the balloon. Okay, here's what we know. Mark Spector serves as an avatar for Khonshu, a deity that saved Mark's life out in the Egyptian desert. Mark doesn't like this role. Khonshu's a massive jerk and now has eyes to turn Layla into his next vengeance-dealing servant. So the two heroic goals here are to stop Harrow from unleashing Amit and her lethal pre-crime wrath on the world and to protect Layla from Khonshu. Ultimately, Amit and Harrow aside is the true adversary here, Khonshu's avatar itself. And yes, you do have to wonder about about who these gods are. Are they actually gods or aliens? This, among other things, makes Moon Knight the series feel even more disconnected from the MCU. It's easy enough to not mention any Avengers or the Blip, but to also fly in the face of everything Thor taught us with Asgard, or even with the Eternals just told us about the myths and gods and various ancient cultures. By the end of episode 2, Mark the Mercs in control, but he also tells Steven that once he's done with the mission, he's more than happy to vanish. One would have to be in order to actually become a mercenary and get married and do fully rounded life things. Of course, Mark could just be lying in order to get the job done, but that doesn't change the fact that we still don't know much about the Stephen Mark situation, except that Stephen was part of the package, so much so that Mark had previously assured Khonshu that Stephen wouldn't get in the way. Yeah. Moon Knight's second outing had action, intrigue, and more great stuff between Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke. It brought the conflict between Mark and Steven to a head for now, though it also got bogged down slightly by the continued use of Steven's ignorance and befuddlement as an initial obstacle. It felt like the second half of a two-parter, setting us up for a different dynamic going forward on a path that hopefully provides more context and backstory. Moon Knight's episode 2 review is 7, which is considered good. I hope you enjoy this review of Moon Knight. Like I said, hopefully you guys have seen this episode before, listening to this, because I don't want to be blamed for spoiling anything. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this review. You guys already know what to do with this podcast. Make sure to subscribe. It ain't nothing new. And yeah, bye-bye, guys.